Okay, so another psych video. It's been something that I've been seeing lately and observing and understanding through my students and a lot of other people who are looking to make it through day trading. And I've been asked many times, hey, I'm following a set mechanical system. I'm not over trading. I'm following my rules. Why can't I still be profitable? Day trading in an outsider's perspective or in a viewer's perspective seems so set, straightforward, and easy, where you just have a mechanical system, you follow a checklist, and you follow everything to a teeth, and you manage your risk, and you don't take more than one trade per day, and you think that's enough. However, it's not that straightforward, hence why the statistic is so low for success through day trading. One thing I've noticed is that too many of you guys try to make everything too mechanical. By being mechanical, you are confining yourself to a set checklist and you cannot adapt and, react to the market as you guys should be doing. When I first started trading, I would follow a set checklist. I would literally have it written down either on a notepad, a different screen, or on my charts. And I would manage my risk very well. However, I couldn't pass a single eval. Now, I never realized that that was the main issue until I started branching out, adapting, and doing my own thing. Many of you guys know I was a Dutch student. I started from his mentorship and I traded exactly what he traded, or at least what he taught at the time within his mentorship, to the teeth, everything. And although there was a few times of success, it didn't really work for me. And the most important part about trading is finding something that works for you, hence why you need to adapt to the markets. That's why I tapped more into order flow. I found that I liked it and matched with my personality and it aligned with my logical reasoning, my logical functioning brain. And that was what started my profitability. And I think a lot of you guys do that too, where although, yes, having a mentor is great and learning everything that trade is great, but the most that you can gain out of it is learning the core concepts and basics of what they trade, understanding how it works for them, and then figuring out what works for you. Because what works for me may not work for you, and what works for Dutch may not work for me. But that's why we have to be intuitive, reactive, and adapt to the market conditions rather than following a set checklist every single morning. Now, it's easier said than done, but that doesn't mean change up your model completely, add a butt fuck ton of confluences, and expect to just be better. No. The reason why market intuition and all this stuff, nobody teaches it is because you simply cannot teach it, right? The reason why we are good at trading as a whole is because we understand the markets and we've seen it so many times through the same lens and are able to adapt and trade accordingly. So again, what works for me may not work for you. And a lot of times I take trades so intuitively that are far from mechanical, nowhere near what I trade, standard deviation, and I'm still able to do well. And that's because I understand the market through the lens that I'm watching it. I have, a good amount of knowledge of the market, of what I want to see, and certain reactions and rejections that I want to see before I take a setup. That's why every single day I'm not trying to catch a reversal, but sometimes if I'm understanding that we are continuing, then we take a continuation. Just because we're trading standard deviation doesn't always mean you're going to get a manipulation during your game session that's going to distribute all through the rest of the day. Sometimes the manipulation is made in London, Asia, pre-market. Doesn't matter. You have to adapt and find something that works for you. And again, that's why order flow was so nice to me because it aligned with my logical reasoning. I was figuring out what works for me, not what works for other people. And I want a lot of you guys to try that out. Start exploring, finding one or two confluences that you think aligns with things, but if what I'm teaching you guys right now works, then continue that. Don't ever change up something just because it works, just because of shiny object syndrome. Okay. If you're trading one-to-one continuations and you have a high win rate and you're profitable with it, just because I'm profitable with low win rate, high RR, like reversals, doesn't mean that you should do that too. Okay. So try to make trading more natural, intuitive, and act as a human again, not a mechanical robot that is following what they were programmed to do, because that's not who we are. The reason why we're still so successful as humans amidst like this world of AI machines and everything like that is because one thing that robots lack is human instinct, like nature. That's what they lack. And a lot of you guys don't understand that and capitalize on that, because frankly, that is our best feature. That's what makes us human. So I want you guys to try and stick and be consistent. That's why I'm on the shallow level, basic level. All mentors are going to preach for you to be consistent, stick with one model, but they don't go in depth on why that is. And that is because once you start seeing the markets through the same lens again and again and again for however long you're trading, you're going to just eventually gain it. That's why you cannot teach market intuition as much as I would love to, right? I would love to put you guys onto, my thought process, but it's just not that simple like that. Sometimes I've never used, like, let's say CISDs or weekly opens, but then one day I randomly decide to, because let's say I see a good rejection, hence my most recent trade. It's because of those things that you learn, and you only gain that type of reactability and decision-making split second by spending a lot of time in the market. So find something that works for you. Please do not confine yourselves with a mechanical system. Once you're when you guys start learning, like at the very beginning, yes, it's good. So you can fully understand what you're trading, what you're supposed to look at. But then once you have a decent grasp and understanding of what you're trading, try to trade what you want, what you like, and what works for you, not what works for me, not what works for anybody else. Just do what works for you, and do not fall for shiny object syndrome, because that has ruined my trading more times than I'd like to say it. But try your best to make trading less mechanical, more intuitive. And that's just by adapting and making last minute decisions, right? All the best athletes in the world aren't the best because they are like a robot. They strictly follow like a certain system on how they play. No, they adapt last second. They understand the scenarios, and they do not predict. They are reacting based off of what information they're given, what they're seeing in the market. So I want you guys to try to do that too. All right. And it's hard for me to tell you guys specifically what you can do to, gain, to lose that mechanical ability and gain intuition. But the start is staying consistent to one thing. But just because I'm saying stay consistent doesn't mean that you shouldn't explore, try to understand other things so you can apply it to yourselves. I know many great traders, pretty much all of them, they all trade something differently, even though we came from the same places. Like me and my boy Asen, right? Like we both came from Dutch's server, however, we trade vastly differently. And it works for the both of us because we understand how we like to perceive the markets, right? Don't nerf yourself by forcing yourself to do something that someone else is doing. Do what works for you, and I promise that you are going to find it so much better. When I was still struggling to be consistently profitable, I remember there were days where I would legit have 2 weeks straight of losing. I took one trade every single day. I didn't lose more than $300 every single day with one con. And I was struggling to say, why? Why wasn't this working? And it was simply because I was trying to be too mechanical. I was too iron sight focused, tunnel visioned on being mechanical and following a checklist and not letting my mind breathe, right? The markets is not that easy. That's why you have to learn and adapt and become a better person and perceive things in a different manner. So yes, this is like the holy grail to you becoming profitable, because trading is not just model, psych, risk management, right? Psych is so much deeper than you think. And unfortunately, you're only ever going to realize that when you experience it and when you accept it and when you understand it and how you can improve. Because you can't just be like, oh, I took one trade today. I followed my model. A loss is a loss, but I followed my rules, so it was a win. Yeah, sure, you followed your rules, but are you actively learning, right? Why did you lose, right? Is it because you hesitated, or is it because you read the market wrong, or were you I don't know what the term was called, but it's where you search for confluences to align with your bias. Let's say we swept that previous week low, and you are desperately trying to find everything to align with longs, even though we're getting a high time frame manipulation, right? And we're supposed to, continuation down, right? So all these things you guys just have to not do. Do not start looking for confluences just because you're so ironclad believing on one thing. Every single day when I wake up for the markets, I picture every single possible scenario that could happen, and whether or not it's a good or bad scenario of it, and whether I can capitalize on it or not. The markets, you just got to react, bro. You can't predict. So don't just draw up a bunch of lines aligning with PD arrays, highs and lows, fibs, all that shit to predict the next move. React with what the market is giving you, and you will not thank me more, because that's going to make you guys a lot better of traders. So please try to take this word of advice. I hope you guys listen to the end of this, because this is like genuinely something that affects quite literally everyone in the trading space and is holding them back from being profitable. So I believe in you guys. Lock in and be smart. I know you guys are smart, so knock the fuck in.